All right, so in this last sub-lesson on building a data model to support self-service reporting, we're going to go through and just do some basic data model cleanup. We're going to go through and make sure our model has good naming conventions on our columns. We've hidden away columns that we don't want to see at the report view. We do some more formatting of the measures we created, so we didn't do some of that stuff as we went through the chapter here. So we're just going to go through and make sure our model's generally ready for end-user self-service consumption. So what I'm going to do here, like normal, is just go ahead and open up the desktop file that supports this. So I'm going to go to 03_14, double click on it. We'll go ahead and wait a moment here for the file to open up. Okay, so the file is opened up. So let's go ahead and start doing some of our cleanup activities here. We're not going to get everything cleaned up the way it should be if I wanted to do this to 100%, but let's just show you some of the things we might consider. So I can take a look at my total sales year to date and my prior year sales, and they all show 4 decimal places here. So let's go in and actually get those measures cleaned up. So I open up my sales table here. I am going to go into my prior year total sales here. And what I want to do here is I'm going to go over into my currency and I'm going to change this to English United States. So we'll go ahead and do that. And what we'll see now under our prior year total sales is now we're actually looking at things with 2 decimal places. I'm going to do the same thing with my quarter to date. Click on it, go over here, choose English United States. We're not going to actually see that one because that's not on the visual here anymore. Let's do the total sales. Go ahead and make that one English United States as well, like so. So now that has been reformatted. Go ahead and do the total sales, year-over-year percentage. Choose that one there. And just for completeness sake, let's go ahead and do the year-to-date sales here as well, just so we have everything all nice and cleaned up from the data model's perspective here. In fact, if I take a look at my model here, I can actually see that I made a mistake in it here. The total sales year-over-year percentage, this one shouldn't be formatted as a currency. We want to actually format this as a percentage. So let's go ahead and go like that, and we'll leave it at 2 decimal places. So this one was actually fine. So I just made a mistake on that one there. Okay, so that is going through and naming some of our measures. So let's go through here. I'm just going to go over to the data model now. And what we want to do here is there's several more columns that we actually want to hide away from the report view. So on the model itself, let's go ahead and re-hide the order date. So we had only brought that through to support the quick measure we were creating earlier. So there we go, we have that there. I'm just going to make this fit to the screen a little bit better. And now we're going to go through the sales table. I'm just going to expand this a little bit here because I want a lot of the activities that I do here to come through on this particular table here. So let's go like that. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go through and let's go ahead and hide the sales territory region. So I'm just going to highlight on that in the table, click the eyeball there. So it's not going to show in report view. And keep in mind, this is going to keep people from accidentally choosing it and expecting the filter from sales to flow over to sales territories. So we're going to go through and do that to all of the columns in here that are being used to join over to the dimensions, because we actually want people to use the dimension columns to do the filtering. So I'm going to turn the product key off, and where's the other one we want to turn off? We want to go to the order date. We'll go ahead and turn that one off as well. And the only columns that we're actually going to expose in this table here are the ones that we're going to sum, average, min, max, and count. So we'll leave our calculated columns alone. We'll leave the unit price plus all the measures that we went and created. If we want to take this one step further, what I would do is actually build everything into a measure and expose none of the calculated columns and none of the default summarizations, and would want to control everything through measures. But for now, this is good enough. Okay, so we can go ahead and take a look at our model here now, and things are actually looking pretty good. So we've hidden away things from the report view that we don't want people selecting on. We went and did some reformatting of our columns. Things are actually looking pretty good at this point. And if I just go through my data model and just quickly eyeball everything, there's actually only one column in here that doesn't adhere to the standards of having spaces between the names. And that is the is weekend column that came from Power Query that we developed a while back. So we'll just go ahead and put a space in there just so that every column in our model actually has a space between the names. It's just going to make things a lot more friendly from an end user's perspective. All right, so now we have a model that actually looks pretty good. So let's go and show you what this looks like at the report view. So I'm going to go back over here, and now let's take a look at our sales table. we'll notice that the only columns that are even being exposed here are the columns that we'd want to average, sum, min, max, and count. So the aggregatable columns. The ones that were allowing us to join over or build relationships to the dimension tables, those are no longer available here. So we're at no risk of somebody choosing one of those columns and inadvertently trying to apply filters to it and not having those filters actually work their way back into the parts of the data model. Okay, so that was it. That's just some basic model cleanup that we want to do. This is always one of the last things we should do before we get ready to start pushing a model over into production so that people can start building more reports on top of it, is just really make sure that data model's set the way you want. You've got all the naming conventions in place. If you've got default formatting, you basically built everything in the data model to make end user self-service as efficient as possible.